Unfortunately, I got news to tell you. It seems like from the Pesukim that we read from the Haftorah, from Shabbat Chazon, it seems that Hashem doesn't want us. I hate to say it that way, but just if you read this is not me, blame the Navi. If you just read the words, if you read the words of the Navi, the Pesukim, Hashem says, Lama li rov zivchechem. What do I need? All these karbanot, all these sacrifices. Yomer Hashem savati olot elim v'chelev mireim. I'm so full from all of those animals that you've given me from the Beit HaMikdash. V'dam parim ukvasim va'atudim lo chafatzti. I don't want them. Hashem is basically saying no is no. I don't want. Stop sending me. To the point that Hashem said, oh, you're not going to stop. You're not getting the message. Okay. You lit a match. You heard a scratch. And there went the candy store. The Beit HaMikdash went up in flames. Hashem said, I told you. Stop it. Okay. So if you don't want us, why are we all sitting on the floor? Why do we all have terrible breath right now? Why are we all starving so badly? Well, because in Eicha that we read last night, Hashem said, no, wait, whoa, no. Ki lo zan yiznach leolam Adonai. Kim hokav yiricham kerov chasadav. Hashem says, no, I'm not going to reject you forever. I'm going to bring you back. Yeah, I have to afflict you, but v'richam kerov chasadav. Eventually, I'm going to have rachmanut. And then the way that Eicha, the famous ending, Hashivenu Hashem elecha v'nashuva chadeshemenu kekedem. We're going to come back. Hashem's going to return us. So what is it? Does he want us? Doesn't he want us? How does he want us? I heard from Rabbi Waxman last night. A beautiful mashal. It's a story, really. Rav Anshel Rothschild, the Rothschild family, very, very well-to-do family throughout years and years in Europe. So Anshel Rothschild, the head of the family, had one of his main assistants. The guy was a lawyer, the guy was an accountant, the guy did everything. And slowly but surely, the guy started to take over the business. Now, the guy never tried to take over 100% from Anshel Rothschild, but he was starting to get very comfortable in the very deep Rothschild pockets and banks. So the day had to come, and Rothschild sent the guy packing. He fired him. He said to him, Yalla, we're done over here, man. You're getting way too comfortable. You're throwing around way too much weight. You're gone. He fired him. This guy, he was saddened, but he didn't feel terrible because with his connections that he's made over all those years between the banks and everything else, it's a sure thing he's going to get hired the next day. And sure enough, when he goes from bank to bank, with his resume, with his very impressive long resume, everybody tells him no. We're not interested. He comes back home and he's all upset because he knows what happened. Obviously, Anshel Rothschild decided to stick him really good and send a telegram to every single bank. Everybody hears, right? Obviously, that's what you do. You make sure that when you fire him, you keep his head in the dirt too. So he's going to make sure he's never going to work again. And Rothschild went and sent a message to every single bank saying, don't hire this guy. The guy got so upset. The guy came home and his wife said to him, she had a much better take on humanity, on people. She said, look, Mr. Rothschild has only ever been good to us. He's a sweetheart of a guy. It doesn't sound like him. What, you don't think he went and called? No, I think he called all those banks. I'm sure of it. But you want to know why he did that? He did that because he doesn't want them to hire you. He wants to hire you back. But he needs you to learn humility first. Meaning the guy that you are right now, yeah, he fired and he has no interest in. But the guy that he used to know, the guy that he hired years ago, that wide-eyed child who was so happy, who felt such honor to serve the Rothschild family, that's the guy he wants back. So he wants us back. Now that's nice, right? Doesn't sound like a good Tisha B'Av speech. Isn't that a good starter, right? Isn't that a good starter? I started out saying Hashem doesn't want us. I said Hashem does want us. And then I said a nice story. That's how you make a speech. It sounded nice, right? No, it sounded bad. Did anybody buy into that? Anybody? I didn't either, don't worry. It doesn't. We've heard so many speeches every day. The whole Tisha B'Av, 10,000 speakers everywhere. That after a while, that same old story, that's the way if you listen, if you can mute the words and just listen to the sound of the speech, it goes, and that's just, if you're able to take out the words. After a while, we get I'm Chas v'Shalom not knocking any, that's not it. I'm just saying after a while, we get very, very numb to that. So I want to ask a question that maybe we don't ask, which is, how does Hashem put up with us? Now, how does God, honestly, how does God put up with us? I get emails in my studio all day. We all feel this. We're all in a terrible cycle of the same old stupidities. All day, all night. We do teshuvah and then we bounce back into our bed. We do teshuvah and then we bounce back into our bed. Okay, how many speeches on Lashon Hara jointly do you think this whole room has listened to? Tens of thousands, maybe all of us? We should all be able to write books on Lashon Hara. And by the way, it's easier to write a book than actually overcome the Yetzer Hara. Has anybody here gotten over Lashon Hara? So do we all stink? We're doing the same thing. How does Hashem put up with us? How many speeches have we heard about greatness in every area possible, and we just fall in the same old cycle over and over? Now, when it comes to Averot, though, when it comes to sinning, we're very good. We know how to sin. And we're good at it. We're born sinners. We know how to do that. We're real. People don't run to a rabbi to ask him, is this Lashon Hara, is this real Lashon? Right? When you have an etrog or you're not sure, you go to a rabbi, you're like, I don't know. Is this real? But when it comes to Averot, we know Averot. We are experts in Averot. We have business cards that say we practice well. So how does Hashem put up with us? We are experts in sin. And when it comes to mitzvot, we listen to stuff that we yawn through at best and say, maybe one day, not for me today, that was a great story at the end. The Holocaust was bad. I mean, that's the way that we always come out from things. How does Hashem put up with us? I don't know. But maybe we could try to give a little bit of a take over here. So, the answer really does lie within us. We do have this answer already. But we got to look into, if you want to figure out how Hashem puts up with us, we got to look into, when does Hashem give up? When does Hashem just stop? When does Hashem not have Erech HaPayim anymore? When does Hashem just say, enough is enough already, and I'm not going to put up with this anymore? What is the straw that breaks the camel's back? What is it? The Maral brings. The Gemara in Baba Metzia Daf Lamed Amud Bet. Lo charva Yerushalayim ela shehamidu dineim al din Torah velo avdu lifnim mishrat hadin. Hashem did not bring the Churban, the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, until Jews brought other Jews to court and they decided they wanted absolute justice. They refused to give each other an inch. They said, no, I'm going to sue him, and I want justice, a pound of flesh. I want to get what is coming to me. The Gemara tells us. That's it. That's all. Hashem said, turn out the lights. Don't, we are done here. Destroy the Beit HaMikdash, burn it to the ground, whatever you'd like. Says the Maharal. Pirush, Afal Gav Shahaya Lahem, although they had Chatayim Achirim, they had other sins. Lo Haya Bar Chorban, Ella HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mishalim Lem Onesh Acher. with all the other sins, God would have done other stuff. God's imagination is limitless. He can think of other things. He did not have to go and zero in on the Beit HaMikdash and destroy it. He had plenty of other things up his infinite sleeve to mete out on those sinning Israelites. I mean, he had plenty of stuff. Aval, kasher hamidu divrehem al din Torah, lo ratzu rak badin, v'mizah chorban ayidei midat hadin, shayishola behem lachriv otam. When the Jews decided that we're going to go din with each other, we're going to not let each other move an inch without judgment. We're not going to go beyond the letter of the law for each other. That's it. Hashem said we're destroying it. Now, it's interesting, guys, because there's no real pasuk in the Torah that clearly tells us that you have to go lifnim mishurat hadin, that you have to go beyond the letter of the law for somebody. It doesn't say it anywhere. And yet, this is the one to destroy the Beit HaMikdash. Now, I know there is no shortage of Gemarot that tell us the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of, and we have the whole list, the big three, Gilei Rayot, Shvichat Damim, Avodah Zarah, and then the second one because Sinach China. I know that. But over here we have a Gemara that tells us yet another facet, another aspect. Nobody gave each other an inch when it came to judgment. What is that? What does that mean? One more step. What builds the Beit HaMikdash? It's going to bring it back. So I know we've heard Havat Chinam, and that's 100% true, but I found a different Gemara. Gemara Baba Batran, Ayin Hey. It says something amazing. There's a machloket between two angels. What kind of stones will God use to build the Sha'arei Yerushalayim, like the gates of Jerusalem? What kind of stones is God going to use? And there's a machloket, the Shom, the Yishpa. They talk about different stones. And Hashem said everybody's right. The different stones, everybody's right. What is this talking about, the stones? So number one, it's not for now because we don't have much time, but the Marsha in the back of Batra, you got to see. It's amazing. He says that those are the stones that go on the Choshen of the Kohen Gadol, and those stones in particular are the ones that are meant to bring Mashiach. Go give a look over there. It's fascinating. I want to tell you a maral on the stones of the Choshen, because these are the stones that Hashem is going to use to build the gates that we're all going to walk through right when Mashiach shows up in about 12 minutes at the end of my speech. So get ready, because you're going to see these stones in 11 and a half minutes. So it goes like this now. Says the Maharal. They're called, the ones in the Choshen, they're called Avnei Miluim, the stones that fill up. Why are they called the stones that fill up? The Maharal tells us because certain stones fill everything. If you have an engagement ring, right, how many people deal in, I should say how many people don't deal in jewelry over here? I'll get right to just one hand goes up. Yeah, I'm not there yet. Okay, but everybody else. So you know what I'm saying. When you have an engagement ring and it doesn't have the stone inside, it's just about worthless. The stone makes the entire ring. When your friend is like, oh my gosh, you're engaged, you can't believe it. She's like, let me see. And you put out your finger and it's missing the rock and you're saying that, yeah, we're getting it fitted, whatever. She's like, oh, it's nothing. When you have the stone, it gives the entire value to the ring. The Avnei Miluim gave the entire value to the Choshen because it was a tachshit. It was just an ornament, and without it, it is nothing. A Jew without Lifnim Mishurat Hadin is the engagement ring without the stone. You're lacking. A Jew without his Jewishness, a Jew who is lacking that beauty. What is that beauty? A Jew who tries to fit his identity into other nations, Hashem's not going to let you. He told all the other nations already, don't hire them, don't take them in, they're Yidden, they're mine. But how does Hashem put up with us? How is his patience? How does it go for so long? It's because he knows that you're amazing. He knows because he made you. You're incredible. There's something incredible about you. And Hashem is waiting. Erech Apayim means he is waiting. And he's able to put in all of your and my stupidities, and he's waiting and waiting until you finally recognize what makes you amazing to be a Jew. But there's one thing that's going to stop that. If you don't give somebody else an inch, if you're not lifnim mishurat hadin, If you don't go beyond the letter of the law for somebody else, so then all of a sudden Hashem says, you'll never get it. You're just not going to be able to ever get to the amazingness that I see within inside you. Burn the Beit HaMikdash down. What does this mean? Certain things are going to keep you small. Certain things are going to keep you so attached, never being able to forgive anybody. Certain aspects of your life are going to be that you demand of other people to give you stuff because you feel you've earned it. It's about time we all decided one thing. You do this one thing. You'll be able to master Lashon Hara, you'll be able to master all those other speeches there's one thing. You decide that you are a prince. You're a princess. You're a king, you're a queen of gods. And it's about darn time you started acting like it. Can I tell you how? There's a story of the elder Reichman. He had cancer and he was dying. There he is in a hospital that he built, in a wing that had his name on it. And he was waiting online for chemotherapy like everybody else. His grandson who was there with him said, I want to go tell them that you are here and that you're the Reichman whose name is right over there so that they'll get you and you don't have to wait like... He's like, no, chas v'shalom. We're all humans, they're all sick, I know the feeling, I'm sick myself. He waited. At the end, after his round with the chemo, he said through a very scratched whisper to his grandson, I'm so thirsty, I need a drink. His grandson went to the vending machine and he got a bottle of water. He came running back to his grandfather and handed it to him. And his grandfather looked at him as if he was insane. His grandfather said to him, what is this? The kid said, it's a bottle of water. He said, bring me a cup. He said, Zayda, you're in a hospital gown, sitting inside a wheelchair with wires going into every part of your body. You're not exactly at a wedding right now. Just drink the water. He said, for 50 years, I haven't ever taken a drink out of a bottle because humans drink out of cups. I'm not going to start now. Bring me a cup. Lifnim Mishrat Hadin goes beyond the letter of the law. Not just with other people, darn it, with yourself. Start to demand of yourself greatness. Beyond the letter of the law. Hashem puts up with us because He knows that we're amazing. He made us and He knows how incredible we are. And He knows that lying dormant within us is the ability to go beyond everything that you could possibly imagine. TorahAnyTime is the greatest. This whole building, Beit Gavriel, would like to thank Beit Gavriel, thank Chazak, thank TorahAnyTime. A couple of guys sitting around the table said, let's bring Torah to the world. Does it say it in any pasuk that you have to go online and start to get thousands of speakers anywhere? It doesn't say it anywhere. They went beyond the letter of the law. Does it say anywhere to open up a building in Queens and Beit Gavriel? Does it say it anywhere to bring everybody together? Find me a pasuk. It doesn't, but they said, it's obvious. If you want to bring Jews back, go beyond the letter of the law. Don't wait for the rabbi to come knocking on your door. You knock on his and find what is it you can do. Go beyond the letter of the law. Everybody else drinks out of bottles. You're amazing. You're going to decide that that is below my standards. There's a nobility. You're an aristocrat. Rabbi Berkowitz, my Rebbe, talks about this. The first time I heard him speak about this, I was just like, what is he talking about? He said, nobody here sucks on lollipops anymore, right? Like, what? What's he talking about? He said, you're all b'nei yeshiva, it's beneath you. There are so many things that all of us do. It's beneath us. Go beyond the letter of the law. Sometimes beyond the letter of the law means holding yourself back. Do you want to know the most aristocratic people? Do you want to know the people who, when you look up to them, you see nobility? You see people who are just so beyond, and you feel like you want to have a part of them. my son, Pinchas Meir. We had a baby boy only nearly 2 months ago now. And I named him after my wife's grandfather. He went through the Holocaust. I'll tell you a story, not about the Holocaust, but afterwards. He passed away right after Rosh Hashanah. So my mother-in-law was so involved with the Shiva and everything else, she didn't have a time to go do tashlich. So halacha is that you have a certain time afterwards to go to tashlich. So she went, and on her way out of the house, she saw her father, who she just got up from Shiva. She saw his Rosh Hashanah Malzor, and she said, how fitting would it be for me to go and do tashlich with his Malzor? Rabbotai, listen to the story. She goes to go do tashlich. She opens up the book, the Malzor, to go find the page, and all of a sudden a piece of paper falls out, and it falls on the floor. She goes to pick up the paper. She gives a look at it. There are 4 names on the paper. All of them say Ben Pinchas Meir. He had 4 children before the Holocaust who all got killed in the Holocaust, and my mother-in-law, his daughter, never knew. You want to talk about beyond the letter of the law? Yeah, the atrocities that Yidden went through in the Holocaust is unspeakable, but you want to talk about the Holocaust, talk about it. I'd like to talk about just a little bit afterwards. They were giants. You should take note of the aftermath of how they lived, appreciate these giants. They walked away and they went beyond the letter of the law with God. They judged God, lifnim mishurat hadin, and they said, I don't get it. I don't understand you, but I will judge you favorably, Hashem. They judged humanity favorably because they were giants. Do you understand what he had to do? His mind every single day thinking, should I tell my new kids about the fact that I had a family and they were taken, they were stripped from me and they were killed? Or do I hold myself back? Do I hold myself back because that's what being big demands of me? Because maybe if I tell them, then they'll feel that we lost. Maybe if I tell them, they'll feel like they could never amount to kids that I've lost, because those kids in my mind will always be angels, whereas my kids now are simply human. And how could they ever match up to them? And my kids would feel like I'm always looking up to the ones that I've lost and not the ones that I have. And they'll be so troubled that I can't bring them upright. So I will hold myself back. Do you know what kind of strength that takes? We're not demanding much of anybody in this room. We're asking you to become big, to hold yourself back when there's somebody who you could hurt. My yeshiva that I used to have in Israel, my wife used to work for a tzaddik of a guy. When I was up in the yeshiva, I asked him for a $5,000 loan for the yeshiva. He said, sure, no problem. Wrote up a contract, he gave it to me. About a year later, when it was over, I went to go tell him that I need some more time running yeshivas. You're on deficits. When I went to go tell him, he laughed at me. And he said to me, you never borrowed $5,000 from me. I gave you a $5,000 donation. I said, no, we have the contract. He laughed in my face. He said, if I told you it was a donation, would you have taken it? I said, no, I would have felt very uncomfortable. My wife is working for you. It's like, that's right. You're an idiot, Ari. You were given a $5,000 donation because when you open yeshiva, you need every dime you can get. I don't ever expect that money back. Go beyond the letter of the law. Stop asking what the world is going to give you and instead figure out what can you give them. There's so much. The world needs so much. On the way in, somebody just WhatsApped me something so beautiful. He said, the Yidden, the Jews still have a chance. June 13th. A girl showed up to Sloan Kettering Cancer Hospital in the pediatric ward. A Jewish girl showed up there, but she looked a little bit out of place because she was there in her wedding gown. Her hair all made up, her makeup ready to go. It was the day of her wedding. They looked at her and she's like, are you the fairy princess? What are you doing here? And she told them, my Kala teacher told me that on the day of my wedding, anybody who I give a beracha to, the beracha comes true. I thought to myself, what better place to go to than right here? And they lined up. It doesn't say it in the Torah, I know. Go beyond the letter of the law. Be bigger. Hashem is demanding that of us. It's what caused the destruction, and it's what will bring it back. Figure out in your own life. You're a yid, you're a king. Certain things are just beneath you. When you recognize how amazing and how big you are, you're gonna know that, hey, I'm not gonna speak Lashon Hara. That's just so small to sit in the back of shul and talk. I'm not one of those people. It's so big to be the one to go running and to help. To finish off, I'd like to read you now a story that I saw in the Mishpacha magazine. The difference between people who take and maybe people who give. He was writing about an experience he had. A friend of his sent him a picture of the hotel that he went to for Pesach. I'm not saying not to go to hotels. Some odd reason every time I stand up to speak, that works in there somehow. I'm not telling you not to. But the guy took a picture of the smorgasbord, of all the buffets, and said it doesn't get better than this. It doesn't get better than this. It does. I'd like to read you this last story. This Pesach, our community suffered a loss. The passing of a 51-year-old Reb Mordechai Kamin, a wonderful husband, a father to a beautiful family. By the Shiva, the wife told us an incredible story from the Seder night. He was in a very weakened state. He was having difficulty breathing. A decision was made to have Hatzalah transport him for what turned out to be his final trip to hospice. His wife, wanting to see if he was alert, asked him several questions. She asked him his name, his age, and his children's names, and he was able to respond correctly. Then she asked him if he remembered the Seder, and he answered, yeah. He answered in the affirmative. Of course I remember the Seder. Who was at the Seder, she asked him, expecting him to list the family members who were present. Reb Mordechai was quiet for a few moments, and then he said, at the Seder, I saw Mashiach. She called her daughter and repeated the question, and again he said, yeah, I saw Mashiach. Those were his last words. He was taken to the hospital, he was put under sedation. He returned his holy neshama to its maker. You want to keep yourself small and take pictures of buffets, knock yourself out. And think that that's the best that it could get, enjoy yourself. You will be living a blind existence of what you could have been. You want to finally decide to be big, to go beyond the call and figure out why Hashem does have so much patience for you, because there's something amazing inside you and you connect and you become great. All of us will get to see Mashiach very soon. Have an easy fast.